If you have seen my previous videos about why English teaching sucks and why it maybe kind of should be avoided, this video may come as a surprise. Don't get me wrong, I'm on team English teaching sucks, but there are some benefits from working in the English teaching industry. English teaching gives you a lot of free time, and I mean a lot of free time. From desk warming duties, to random periods of the day where you basically have no classes, to I've generally heard of people going into school, realizing they have 0 classes for the entire day, and of course, depending on your school, they either send you home, or you stay in school until lunchtime, have lunch with the kids, and then you go home. Either way, you're there either all day or for a portion of the day with nothing to do. Junior high, elementary, high school, you can only mark so many tests. There are only so many lessons that need to be planned. Once you've planned those lessons, once the tests are marked, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. And if you're a smart English teacher in Japan, and I know you are, you're using this time to skill up. Depending on your company, the region, the school you work for, how chill your principal is, your day-to-day can be very, very different. Generally, my days were 8:30 to about 3 or 4 p.m. And these days were chill. I get to school at 8:30, I have no classes until 9, lunch with the kids, you're out of the school by 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock? And to balance my schedule so I'm not working too many hours, if you see my last video, you know, if you work too many hours, you get pushed outside of part-time, and then your company has to pay a bunch of like insurance things and what have you. So they are very much trying to keep you below that threshold of 29.9 hours. Because there is this legal threshold in place, my school when I first came here as an English teacher, I got to leave work on a Wednesday at like 11 a.m. Do you know how insane it is to leave work at 11 a.m? Like my day is done. The world is my oyster. Best case scenario, you have the entire day to explore Japan. Worst case scenario, you have the majority of the afternoon to explore Japan. Finishing work at 3 o'clock cannot be understated. That is an insane time to finish work. You have hours of sunlight left, even in the winter time. Depending on the reason you came to Japan and also your future goals living and working in Japan, you should be using this free time to develop a new skill other than English teaching. You finish work at 3, do some classes online, you have the time. But most importantly, if you're planning to live in Japan for only a year and then return back to your home country, or if you're planning to stay in Japan for a long period of time, you should, say it with me, study Japanese. That's right, you should all be studying Japanese. At your desks, on the bus, on the train, listen to a Japanese podcast. My recommendation is Bilingual News. It's a podcast that tells you the news once in English and then once in Japanese. It's a great resource for learning words you wouldn't usually come across in a textbook, but that's my osusume. But yeah, you basically have no excuse to be a bum. To show you how great this schedule is, back when I was an English teacher, my schedule looked something like this. I'd wake up, go to school, plan all lessons over my breaks, eat lunch with the kids. Then after lunch, I would have the last lessons of the day. I'd finish work, and hot damn, the sun is still up. I would have time to meet friends, hit the gym, chill out at home and study, play games if it was a day that I wasn't going too hard on studying, and then go to bed at a somewhat reasonable hour to start the day all over again. And that was my schedule for a normal working day. On a Wednesday when I finished the day at half day, I would usually hit up a cafe for a couple hours, do a little Japanese study before probably meeting my friends or going exploring or doing some kind of adventuring in Japan. Till this day, this has been the easiest work schedule I've ever had in my entire life. And I mean, I've ever had in my entire life. I've done part-time jobs before in the UK. I worked like 4 different part-time jobs at the same time when I was in university because I was a poor kid who needed the money. Scheduling wise, this was the easiest job I've ever done that's given me the most free time. And I've said it before, if English teaching paid more, I would be back like that. Like that. It is the smoothest schedule that gives you the most free time to do kind of whatever else you want to do. And it also does really help that your dispatch company will try to put you as close to your schools as possible. I was a walking distance from basically all of my schools, and I would skateboard to the furthest school away from me, so it was pretty chill. It was actually easier to skateboard to the school than it was to go to the train station, take the train, and then walk to the school. And I can hear you ready. Jordan, skateboarding to the school? Isn't that against the school rules? Well, You're part of the school, but you're not actually part of the school. You're a contract worker. You represent whatever dispatch company has sent you to the school. While there are certain school rules in place that you have to follow, anything else, you don't have to care about it at all. It doesn't affect your time in the school. If you've been a teacher in Japan or you're currently a teacher in Japan, you'll have noticed that you get to school around 8:30. All the teachers are usually already there. They normally get there a little bit earlier, 7:30, 8 o'clock. They normally have other roles outside of their normal teaching duties that they have to do. You don't have to get there early. Your contract states 8:30 till whatever time, and that's it. The time you start work, the time you end work, and then the time you really do end work and go home, there's a whole Japanese work culture rule set that applies to that part of the rule. Oh, my boss hasn't gone home yet, so I can't go yet. Oh, my senpai's still photocopying a blank piece of paper, so I have to stay and give him little hand claps so he knows his efforts are being appreciated. You don't have to worry about any of that. I'll even take it one step further. You should be actively ignoring that. That level of Japanese work culture, that doesn't concern you. You are only a contracted worker, and you're only there to work the hours you're contracted there for. Like an outsourced music teacher that comes into the school for 2 lessons a day and then leaves. That's basically what you do. And I have heard of teachers that want to do their best in the schools and they'll stay after class and do muryo zangyo to talk to the teachers and talk to the students and maybe join a club or two. And that's great. The schools will love you for that, the dispatch companies will love you for that, and if it's your goal to be the greatest AOT who ever lived, and then eventually take those skills onto an international school or some other realm of teaching in Japan, all of that experience will eventually come in handy. But if that's not your goal, if your goal is a different industry or you're only in Japan for a year and then you're leaving, leave at your contract finish time. The vast majority of people coming over to Japan to teach English for a year or two just want to explore Japan. And you shouldn't feel bad about wanting to do that. That's the reason that you are here. As long as you're giving it your all and you're doing your best during the hours that you're in the school for, anything contractually outside of that, don't even worry about it. Go and travel, explore Japan, find some adventures here. That's the reason you've come all the way to Japan. Being a teacher in Japan, you get all the holidays that the kids do, unless you're jet. Because you're a government employee, I think you get stuck on a different style of contract where the AOTs do have more holidays, but they get less pay. But if you're in the jet program, you generally just get less holidays. You're a government worker, you're stuck on government working contracts. But still, as a teacher, you get way more holidays than the average company drone. These holidays are the perfect time to go absolutely crazy and explore the length and breadth of Japan, or at least as far as your English teacher pittance of a salary will take you. If for whatever reason, I assume the reason's going to be money, but if for whatever reason you're not able to travel big travels to various different prefectures in Japan, I would say dive into your local festivals and activities. Japan has a lot of yearly festivals, and depending on the area you're in, you'll receive little like postcards or envelopes, or there'll be like a bulletin board telling you about all of the different festivals that are happening in the current month that you're in. And this is where that Japanese reading comes in. You don't gotta be perfect, but you just gotta know the kanji for Matsuri and the kanji for like what month it's in, and then maybe just understand like the picture of the location that the festival is taking place in. And these like festivals and small events in your area are a great excuse to get involved in the local community. You're already an English teacher. Depending on the area you're in, you might be one of 5 to 10 English teachers in a 100-mile radius. So you've taught at enough schools and you've met enough people that people at least know your face, but they don't know how to approach you. This is the power of the local festival. You suddenly become more approachable. Go over the other AOTs from the area, find and meet your teachers and students, say hi, meet the local community, and just really make yourself known in the community. Be you in that area for 1 year, 10 years, 6 months, there is no harm in getting to know that local community. There is no downside for creating yourself a little safety net that you can fall back into if anything happens. I'm currently working a full-time job in Japan for a Japanese-based Japanese company, and while my company is honestly pretty damn great, there are companies I've worked for in the past, there are stories I've heard about companies that other people have worked for in the past where the working environment isn't that flexible when it comes to holidays. Which means if you are an English teacher in Japan and you eventually plan to pivot to another industry, this may be the only time you have long continuous holidays. Your English teaching days might be your best bet for travel, relaxation, and general exploration of Japan. So while the chance is there, take it.
Is this easy mode?
I say this with all the respect in the world, and yes, it depends on like your personality type, how much experience you've had teaching in the past, but generally, English teaching is easy. And surely you've heard teachers say, I was an English teacher in Gunma for 7 years. There's only so many times you can ask a kid how they're doing in here. I'm fine, thank you, and you. The kids they're always fine. They're just always just fine. And this may be the fault of the English teachers themselves, as a lot of them don't know how to use this native speaker in the classroom outside of just say the line. And this might be hard for a first-year English teacher in Japan to take the initiative and really try to lead some of those activities in the classroom to make it more engaging, not only for the students, but for you as well. And yeah, it's a difficult thing to dive into, but if you have the confidence, if you have the ability, you should do it. The main English teacher doesn't know your ability, so showing them a practical example of how you can be used in the classroom is sometimes the best bet. And depending on your English teacher, maybe a quick conversation before the lesson just to let them know, hey, I would like to teach this part of the lesson, or hey, I know a great game that we learned, I would love to play it with the kids. A quick back and forth like that is sometimes all you need to create a really good working relationship with you and the other English teachers in your schools. Back during my time as an English teacher, I was known as the Kage Eigo Tanto, or the shadow head of English. And that's because there was a head of English in the school, but I was better at the job. So the teachers would come to me, would have full conversations about lesson plans and games and classroom control and things we could do to make English more engaging for the children. And once all of that was resolved and we had a good plan, they would take that to the actual head of English, who'd basically just go, oh yeah, oh Jordan made this? Oh yeah, go for it. Do whatever you want. And that was a setup I enjoyed when teaching English, so they were very happy to accommodate that, because it was less work for them and more fun for the kids. But I do feel really bad for the teachers who came after me. I definitely set the bar way too high, and I had teachers meeting me years later letting me know that the kids weren't as impressed with other teachers' lessons, and they quote-unquote weren't as fun as Afro senseis. So, my bad? But taking more control, taking more ownership over the lessons is the best thing you can do as an English teacher. There's less busy work you have to do because you're actively engaging in the lessons. The days become generally more fun, which means the days go by a lot quicker, and the teachers and the students can see your enthusiasm for the lessons and they're more willing to get involved. And generally, it makes your entire time teaching a lot more fun.
A man has fallen into the river in Lego City.
Hear me out. This doesn't sound like a good thing, but it's an extremely good thing. In a sense, you don't really have any attachments to the school other than ones that you create yourself. And these attachments are usually emotional in nature. You like the school or the kids or the environment of the school, and that's perfectly great. But I get that because I loved working in the schools that I was working in, but the pay was trash. So when a better opportunity arose, I took it. And did I have attachments to these schools? Of course I did. I'm only human. You can't work in a place for 2 years and form zero attachments. Me and the teachers would hang out, go to drinking parties and cafes and what have you. I was invested in the progression of my students. I'd met the parents, I'd built lesson plans, like I was invested in these schools. But your number one investment should always be in yourself. Especially if you are looking to advance outside of English teaching. You can't wait an extra 2, 3, 4 years to move on. As we discussed in the last video, English teaching does stunt your professional growth. And when I didn't renew my contract for a new year, I did feel bad for the schools, but it was fine. A new teacher came in to replace me the next year, the schools didn't shut down, the kids didn't explode, Fuji-san didn't erupt, and all was well. Being replaceable does come with downsides, but you should have a sense of freedom working in these schools, knowing that if you do decide to transfer to a new job, there is going to be someone there to take your place the next year. The kids who you have invested time into aren't going to suffer. The teachers who at this stage are probably your friends aren't going to suffer as well. And while you are replaceable, it doesn't mean you're going to be replaced. The dispatch companies would rather have you in the school for multiple years. it looks bad on the dispatch companies if every single year a new teacher is going into a school. Schools also want consistency, and while there is a rule in Japan where teachers will change their school every couple of years, for those couple of years, kids want to see the same faces in the school. High turnover doesn't look good for any company, be that a middleman dispatch company or a school. And if you are a fabulous teacher and the schools love having you around and would rather you not leave, you can occasionally use that as a bargaining chip to increase your pay or get a better contract or try to work something out with the school themselves where they can go through the Board of Education and get you hired directly into the school. So being an AOT in Japan isn't all doom and gloom. There are some great benefits and it can be a great stepping stone into different career paths in Japan. Be that something in media, teaching, a traditional Japanese workplace, or anything in between. I really did enjoy my time teaching. I made some great lifelong friends in the dispatch company I worked in, I met some amazing people, and I had enough time to skill up in areas that needed to be skilled up in order to transfer to my now media career in Japan. But if you have any questions or concerns about teaching in Japan, let me know in the comments down below and I'll be very happy to jump down and answer them for you. And if you have some more time, I've got a video right here about some of the worst bear attacks that happened in Japan in 2025. Seems they're on a decade-long high, and it's not looking good for the North. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.